Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. My name is Anbraxas and today we're going over the patch 5.2 PvP notes. I'm going to be giving a little commentary. I'm going to be talking about pros and cons, and should be an interesting video. And let me just say first off, I am super excited about this new patch. PvP has not fundamentally changed for quite some time in World of Warcraft. Probably the last time that PvP's actually received any significant love from Blizzard or received any kind of real changes was when they introduced rated battlegrounds. So there's going to be a number of topics we're going to touch on today. I'm going to list them off quickly. And if you're interested in reading this article for yourself, there will be a link in the description of the video. So a few points we're going to touch on. We're going to be talking about the people who gain the early advantage of a new PvP season and what Blizzard's doing to try to iron out some of those problems. We're going to be talking about, what it's like to start mid-season, what Blizzard's doing to fix that. We're going to be talking about what they're doing with the actual item requirements or rating requirements for certain items. We're going to be talking about gear advantages, both from PvE and PvP. And then we're going to be talking about the flexibility of the system in general and what they can actually do with it. So let's dive right into this. So let's talk about the early advantage. Basically what that is something that's happened ever since Wrath of the Lich King. The best people in the game, or at least the top players, pretty much everyone will try this, but it's mainly the top players, will rush to gear up a character and rush through the rating system itself. I'm sure a lot of you saw it in Pandaria, at least for the first PvP season. Everyone was in a real big hurry. And there's one main reason for doing this, and that's because if you are a good player and you achieve a very high rating in MMR, say like you achieve like a 3000 rating, you're pretty much untouchable, and then your either rank 1 slot or gladiator slot, whatever you were going for, is pretty much secured for the entire season because there's really no way for anyone to catch up to you. Well, Blizzard's actually putting in a system so that we can actually catch up to those people over time, which means they're actually going to have to fight for their position, or they're going to have to keep playing on a consistent basis in order to keep gaining rating and MMR to hold on to that rank 1 position. So what they're doing, it's called a matchmaking rating system inflation. And basically what this means, and I'm going to have to give you an example here, is like, say there was a team that had a 3000 rating, and the next closest team to that was at 2400 rating. The team that is at 2400 rating really can't catch up to the team at 3000 if they don't fight them. The team at 3000 has no reason to fight the team at 2400. So the team at 2400 would have to fight people that are under them. And even though they might win, they'd only gain 5, 6, 7 points a match. And it would take them an incredibly long time to ever catch up to the team that's achieved the 3000 rating. That's just the way it's worked. With the new inflation system, basically how it alleviates the problem is the team that is now stuck at 2400 doesn't necessarily have to fight the 3000 rating team. They can fight people under them, and the way the inflation system will work is even if when they beat the people that are underneath them, it'll give them more points so they can catch up to the 3000 team while fighting people underneath them. Vice versa, anyone underneath the 2400 team will also be catching up to them. It's really a game changer. You're going to see people that they achieve these rank 1 titles having to fight for it all season long, and it's going to make for a really competitive season, in my personal opinion. And I think this is a much better way of approaching it than even rating decay, which a lot of people were calling for coming into Pandaria. And what rating decay was if you were at the top and you didn't play, you started to lose rating the longer that you didn't play. And it used to be a pretty significant amount. They took it out for a reason, and it was because, if you ever went on vacation or anything, you would lose your slot. So this new system is going to be really interesting as far as that's concerned. Now let's move on to our next topic, the mid-season starters. And I'm one of these personally. I have 3 characters altogether. I have my main warrior, Anbraxas, which I leveled up to 90 and geared him up immediately. Then I have a warlock and a shaman. Now these characters have been completely left by the wayside, mainly because I don't want to go through the work and the huge time investment it would take for me to be able to compete competitively with them in any significant way, because there is a pretty large gear gap between Dreadful Gladiator's gear and Malevolent. As of the recording of this video, we're still in patch 5.1. If you're watching it past patch 5.2, I guess it doesn't really matter anyway. So to try to fix this whole problem, basically what Blizzard's doing coming into patch 5.2 is they're creating a catch-up system of sorts. And you're going to see a few illustrations here on your screen as I try to explain it out. Now, one of the big stepping stones coming in mid-season or even late season is it's almost impossible to gear up your character, at least in Conquest Point gear, because you're only allowed to cap a certain amount a week, and it's really, really hard for you to increase your cap unless you have rating, which you can't achieve any rating if you're still running in honor gear at a certain point in the season. People just won't take you. So what Blizzard's doing is they're putting in this really interesting catch-up system, and basically the way it works is they're going to, basically how this whole thing functions is they're going to give you 1,000 extra conquest points per week, each week of the season going on. So just for an example, say you've missed 10 weeks of the season so far. What they're going to do is whatever your weekly cap was, say it was 1,600, they're going to add 10,000 points to the end of that. So you'll be able to cap up to 10,000 points in a single week, which means you should be able to gear out a character incredibly quickly that way. Now, it won't get you a full set of Conquest gear, but it'll get you a whole lot, and it'll get you a whole lot closer than if they hadn't put the system in at all. Likewise, it's going to help people who have PvP throughout the season, but maybe needed to take a break for a few weeks. This personally happened to me myself. I was playing my warrior, I took a break for a couple of weeks, now I'm down 3 or 4 pieces of gear just because I took a break. Well, what they're going to do is, if you miss a week throughout the season, and I imagine there's going to be like a halfway point where this actually kicks in, but say you miss a week during the season, then they'll give you an extra 1,000 conquest points that you're allowed to earn the following week, which is going to be really nice because, it's not as good as if you had capped anyway, but we've all run into situations where it's just not possible to cap completely during a week. So it takes a little bit of the brunt of the blow out of that, which is going to be really nice. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about this as we talk about what they're doing with the gear itself. And this is what I find most interesting is they've never actually done anything with the gear that I found particularly compelling. PvP gear's been a pretty linear system where you go from one set to the other, to the other, to the other. They're kind of changing the way that works and giving you more options, and you're going to see that on your screen. So first thing I need to say is 2,200 rating requirements is gone. So all that elite gear that you weren't able to get, I don't know if they're going to put it into the game as transmog gear, but from this point forward, you will be able to obtain the elite gear, and it won't be locked behind 2,200 rating. Now, what they could do is if you do achieve 2,200 rating during the season, they might give you vanity items that don't give you stat increases. So basically what they're doing is they're going to be giving us 4 tiers of gear instead of 3. Currently, the way it's set up, it's Dreadful Gladiators, or it's Contenders, Dreadful Gladiators, and Malevolent. Come the new season, there will be 4 altogether. So basically what's going to happen is Dreadful Gladiator gear will be crafted, which means you can just buy it off the auction house. Malevolent gear and the weapons will be reduced to honor points, which means you can just farm regular battlegrounds for the Malevolent Gladiators gear. And now there is a whole nother debate going on about this, and I might touch on that at the end of the video. Beyond that, there will be Tyrannical Gladiators gear, which is purchasable with the Conquest points. This will be your Conquest point gear. Now, to make it easier for people to gear, especially people who have alts, what they're doing is, after you've reached a cap of 27,000 Conquest points for the season, the Conquest gear, the Tyrannical Gladiator gear, will then be purchasable by honor, which is going to make a huge difference for hybrid classes, say like druids or even shamans. They've been really limited in the past where they've had to buy, if they were going to go resto, they had to buy resto gear, and then if they wanted to elemental, they would most likely just do it in the resto gear. This will make it immensely easier for them to gear up 2 separate sets of gear. At the same time, as you reach this cap, it will also unlock the Elite Tyrannical Gladiators gear, which would have been the Elite gear normally locked behind 2,200 rating. Now, I'm not entirely sure if the way they're setting it up is it will actually have stats on it, or if it's still just a visual change. I'm assuming that it'll be stats to try to keep up with the pace of PvE content to make the PvE gear a little less compelling. So really interesting changes there. Personally, for myself, it means I can go ahead, gear up my warrior, and then go, switch over to play my warlock. Go ahead, earn all my, let's just say I skip the 10 weeks, my 10,000 conquest points in a week. I can go ahead and start purchasing conquest gear. And just 2 or 3 weeks, I'll hit the cap. I'll be able to set up a set for, my warlock's affliction. I'll be able to set up a set for demonology, etc., etc. You won't be locked down to that certain set of gear that you need for a certain role or spec. So that's going to be really nice, and it's going to be extremely helpful for hybrids. And even beyond that, if you want to continue to gear up your character, you can go ahead and switch over into the elite gear. So that is a huge change coming in patch 5.2. That's really not something we've ever seen before. And I'm personally really looking forward to that change. As far as the upgrade season, or the upgrade system is concerned, they're getting rid of it for patch 5.2 because it just put a little too much burden on people who were gearing up with Conquest. Now, I could see it if this new system works out extremely well. They'll bring back the upgrade system for patch 5.3. And after you've hit a certain mark in your conquest points, say the 27,000 point cap, maybe then you'll be able to upgrade that conquest gear with honor, making it much easier for you to navigate that whole system. Not entirely sure if they'll bring back the upgrade system for PvP gear, but it could be an interesting take. I would really like to see them do something like that. Personally, I just thought that was a fun way of keeping people playing, keeping people earning and spending points. But who knows? They might take that out. Like I said, they might do something with the 2200 rating where you can get some vanity items much like challenge mode gear, which would be incredibly interesting. PvP gear, we've pretty much just been locked in each season where we've got a certain look, and that look only deviates by color, and that's it. So I'm really excited for, maybe the 2200 rating gear is, it's got some new animations. It looks different. It's very distinct. It gives you a lot of prestige. So I'm very interested in that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This has been Anbraxas, and I will catch you later.